Alright, well, let's see if he will do that as we're going to start off down in this bottom right-hand corner with the Red Protoss player. He's representing Berserker Esports. It is indeed Spatz.
And that of course means that in the top left side of Babylon, we can go ahead and take a little look at the beautiful main base of our Finnish Zerg that is representing Basilisk, starting his journey in the Europe ESL Pro Tour Regionals. This is the great Jonas Sotala, Serral. Surprisingly, Wadi, one of the tournaments that Serral has not quite been dominating over the last few years. Out of all the times that we ran the Europe regionals, Serral has actually only won it one time, and that's like 1 out of 8, I believe it is. This is the 9th time that we have big online European regionals with a lot of prize money to play for. And of course, we often treated this as like a qualifier for those season finals, and that's the one that Serral did win quite often. But Europe regionals, only 1 out of 8 times did it go to Serral.
It's ridiculous, really, when you think about how dominant he is, and especially when he came out of these seasons, and like you say, he went to a season finals, and what did he do? He won. He won without dropping a map. He looked by far and away the best player. You know, repeatedly in those events. He just couldn't get it done frequently in Europe. Clem consistently levels up in this event. Raynor gets in his way. Serral has struggled in these European regionals, and yeah, we'll see if he can get it done for only the 2nd time. It's ridiculous to say when it's Serral. You know, it feels like he's won multiples of pretty much every tournament out there.
Yeah, and it's just something we didn't quite focus on because he did end up winning like the season finals, right? So it's like, okay, he didn't win the European regionals, but then he won the bigger one with more prize money, or he showed up in a big time in the offline events when we did not have to worry about Corona. So obviously it's never been that big of a story point, but it's just odd, right? We had 8 editions, Clem won 5 of them, Raynor won 2 of them, and Serral was only able to crown himself European champion one time for an online tournament, that is. At this point, though, Serral really comes into this tournament, I think, as the favorite, and that's not based on that track record that we mentioned of the past, but ever since Katowice, Serral has been red hot, literally only losing a single series against Clem in Piggy's tournament. Other than that, the man has looked unstoppable.
Yeah, he's looked really, really solid. Played in the Kung Fu Cup, looked really good there. Just, yeah, really dominant, honestly, as our queen. Gets a couple of shots on this probe, which has consistently been trying to get information, does go down. You would have liked to save that probe, so that's a little bit of a shame, as our Adept here does chase the Zergling around at the right-hand side. I'm just going to see that Adept trying to catch the Ling, but it will get out. I mean, that's amazing for Serral. Full scout around the base so early in the game. He knows every move that Spatz is making so far.
Yep, but he did open up pool first, right? It was a pool before the hatchery, so that obviously means that Serral's economy is maybe a little bit less strong than it is supposed to be, and that's why he was able to get some links out earlier to the other side of the map. We see Spatz going for the Resonating Glaive Adept, and we can see Serral go for that early lair. That's just something that he's been enjoying doing, especially on this map against Resonating Glaives.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The getting the lair super quickly and just kind of playing it into something that we don't usually expect to see. It's fun, man. Like, it's cool to see Serral be such an innovative player, right? Like, it's not just like he's so dominant, he just plays the boring old standard defense every time. He's so good because he can do his own thing. He looks at games, he analyzes, and he says, oh, I actually think this is a really good way to defend that. What are you going to do if I do this? And it's like, oh, that actually is a pretty good point. What am I going to do if you do this? So, yeah, kind of interested to see what Spatz can do with his glaives, but just love to see Serral being that little bit creative and just mixing up ZVP, man. It's not often the first few minutes of ZVP have a lot to talk about, Roddy.
No, it's kind of a middle down the road one for Spatz, right? Because I feel that almost all the pros, whenever they go for the Resonating Glaive, they open up with 4 gateways, but this is 3-gate. 3-gate Glaive Robo. I find it a bit odd. I like playing 3-gate Glaive, but that is without a Robo, and then it's just to expand quickly. I'm not quite certain if this is one of these openings where we can say that Spatz still needs to deal a lot of damage. Obviously, with the way that Serral defends this, he's not going to have a crazy amount of roaches, so maybe there is already some damage that Spatz is dealing just by going for this build to begin with. A bit odd, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a little bit out there, man. It's definitely a little bit different to what we'd expect. 2 more gates, by the way, so we're just going to double down on this Adept pressure. He really wants to just keep on going, but Serral was already in this base, and we actually canceled one of these gates, but the Overseer saw that too, so Serral knows every move that's being made right now, and yeah, that's going to make this kind of Spatz just kind of guessing and figuring out where he wants to be. Now he adds extra gates on again.
Yeah, extra gates and an Immortal. Serral is just building a lot of roaches. Did just queue up a bunch of Overlord. Is still just building roaches. We have an evolution chamber that Serral has not used at all. He had temporarily a second evo, but that was just to wall off. Serral, I feel like it's just going to rally roaches to the other side of the map, which may not be the most entertaining thing, but it could very well be effective because adepts are not great at fighting roaches straight up. Spatz is also not doing anything to force Serral to keep a bunch of units at home. Now Serral goes back into droning, but this many roaches, sure we've got an Immortal, but without the War Prism there to save that Immortal, to micro it a little bit, this could already be a problem, and that's why I guess Spatz is warping in this entry.
Yeah, force field will be big to block these roaches out, and it is just roaches. We don't have a Ravager morphed in yet, and we don't have a ton of gas either. As a few roaches find some adepts over on this right-hand side, and we'll just pick our way through those adepts, getting a few shots off. Going to Shades, they're going to commit to try and get a couple of workers. And get 3, 4. That's decent. Prism loads up, gets away again, and that will at least be the early stages of these adepts. Held off one small, but yeah, at least they got something. Obviously, our mortals coming across the map. We've got the charge on the way too. We're going to really try and send this in the next few moments from Spatz. He does not want to wait around. He definitely doesn't want to see this becoming a longer and longer game.
No, it does not seem that he wants to go up to 3 bases. He had a bunch of free supply, even after this massive warp in. He's far from supply block, but we have 2 more pylons on the production tab. So Spatz is just going for it. Charge is close to finishing up. The problem is just that Serral has not overdroned. 55 drones is a decent amount, but it's nothing crazy. Serral has a whole bunch of units here. There aren't too many sentries, so it's not like Spatz can really work with a bunch of force fields. I'm not exactly sure where this is supposed to go. I mean, I believe in the power of Big Daddy Immortal, but I don't know if this is something that Immortals can chew their way through.
Yeah, Big Daddy Immortal one thing, but this is a bunch of baby roaches ready to fight back, and there's just a lot of them. A couple Stalkers walking forward as well. I mean, we shade the Adepts in to try and do something, but they're being chased by roaches too, Roddy. And this is just not going to be a pretty ending at all here for Spatz, I don't think.
No, we already said it. Obviously, on paper, this was one of the more one-sided matches for the entire first round, and that's just the way that this format works. Now, obviously, after this, Serral is going to go up against a fellow winner. Spatz is going to go up against a loser. Now, we're talking like the best of 3 is already over. It's not quite over yet, but looking at this first game, Spatz is good, and I really have seen him play some great games. I've seen him take down a couple of big names as well in online tournaments, but winning PvZ against Serral in a big tournament like this is obviously almost mission impossible. For anyone, right? Even the likes of Hero and Max Packs and Showtime are gonna have a very difficult time taking down Serral, and I think Spatz obviously knows as well that this is not supposed to happen. It's most likely not going to happen, so then you just kind of hope for little victories, right? You kind of hope to take down a couple drones, you hope to get a great fight. So far in this first game, there really hasn't been a whole lot to get overly excited for Mr. Spatz.
No, not really, and it's not going to get much better as you see Serral walking across the map. That's not really what you want to have happening, because Serral has got a lot of stuff, and you've got what? I mean, still a couple of Immortals here, and you can micro those around a bit. Some force fields, and he chases a couple of roaches down, but there's the roaches on the bottom side that are just going to start walking into the natural here, and okay, we're just going to turn and fight. I kind of don't mind that too much. Although the rest of Serral's army is off up to the north, so Spatz getting a couple of picks. Just all of this as it happens is just so unmeaningful, it feels like, when Serral is still amassing so many other units up.
Yeah, Serral did manage to sneak out a few more drones during all of that battling as well. He's now sitting at 60 workers against a 2-base Protoss with 39 probes. Spatz is working with 43 army supplies, Serral with 105. We are going to warp in a couple of Zealots. These Zealots do have charge. They don't have any additional upgrades, and it really just comes down to these Immortals to basically make their way through 20 plus roaches. Those are some sexy force fields, and since Serral sent the initial set of corrosive balls a little bit further towards the top, Spatz gets a good start to this battle, but it's a numbers game, Waddy, and the numbers heavily favor Serral.
Yeah, heavily favor and beyond, it feels like, as that is just way too much, and Serral is going to be comfortably into a 1-0 lead to start the day off. So Serral gets off to the 1-0 lead. Like I say, a pretty convincing beginning from him, but we expected it to be, right? So yeah, nothing really too surprising about that at the end of the day. Nothing too overly crazy. We'll see whether Spatz can pull something else out in game number 2. You know, when Spatz is going for these kind of aggressive attacks and things, right? If one thing doesn't work, the next part isn't meant to look pretty either. And this really just wasn't enough damage at first. And when it wasn't enough damage at first, it just knocked on to that kind of like, oh, and now this isn't going to be enough damage, and that's not going to be enough. And, you know, that issue basically continues to just build up and build up. So bit of a rough start, but we'll see if he can mix it up and maybe get himself at least a foot in the door going into Neo-Humanity for game number 2. What do you think about Neo-Humanity, Roddy? Anything you like about this? Anything you'd maybe like to see from Spatz in particular?
Good question. It's kind of a tricky map to play at depths, right? Because obviously Serral has the potential to knock down the rock tower or the cooling towers in the center of the map. Maybe some Oracle play into Lord knows what. Maybe we can do like a crazy Phoenix build into carriers. And I'm not saying that because I love Phoenixes or people think I build Phoenix every game. But I just think that's kind of nice because Serral is often going to approach these games overly safe. So if he's not totally sure what he's going up against, maybe he makes a couple of safety roaches, right? Of 48 or 51 drones. And if you're then banking up a bunch of Phoenix at home, you have double Stargate Phoenix, those roaches could be useless. And that's maybe the way for Spatz to get a bit of momentum. I'm not sure. I'm still confused, by the way, Warwick, from that first game, because why did we play 3-gate Resonating Glaive Adept with a Robo? Like, I feel like you just almost never see that. And I feel that with the way that Serral defends, if it would have been 4-gateway Adept, then maybe at least you can start attacking that hatchery and you can force Serral to send a bunch of roaches out where the queens are not able to help out because there isn't that much creep. Like, do you think he may have just forgotten a gateway? Is that a possibility? Or do you think this was the plan all along?
I'm not sure, especially considering, to me, I really felt as though the follow-up as well was going to be one of those scenarios where it's like, you may as well have just opened 4 gates and added on 2 more gateways, or it just didn't really all quite sync up as I would have expected to, so maybe there is a possibility you just forgot a gateway, because if you go like 3-gate Robo like that, maybe thinking, well, maybe you take like a very fast Robo Bay, but that wasn't the plan, so yeah, it was a little bit off from the norm that we expect in these scenarios.
Yep, either the quick Robo Bay or the quick Nexus, right? Because there is a reason why we normally play 4-gateway Resonating Glaive Adept with a Robo, and that's because that works out, that gives you the right amount of adepts. And if you skip out on a gate, there has to be a reason, but we couldn't quite figure out the reason because the follow-up was just more aggression, but maybe we'll never find out. Or maybe I'll just ask him the next time I see him and he can explain it to me, and then in a future cast, Waddy, I'll let you know all about the 3 gateways in the Robo.
Yeah, then you'll sound real smart, Roddy, is in the bottom right. I believe Zerg, who looked real good in that first game. From Basilisk, Serral.
Been looking real good in pretty much everything that the man has been participating in lately. And that obviously means that in the top left side of Neo Humanity, we are looking at the main base of a good mate of mine. I've really been enjoying following his journey. The man has made some good progress over the last few years. He's getting better and better. Our German Protoss is Spatz. Of course, representing the Berserker Esports.
Yeah, Berserker Esports repping in both Asia earlier with T-Bull and now here in Europe with Spatz, and they do have some other players, of course, in the European regionals as well that we'll be excited to talk about when it becomes their turn. Probe across the map down this right side is obviously an odd direction because you're not looking to, I mean, this is, first of all, a second probe, so we're absolutely looking to proxy something here. And Spatz wants to try and really catch Serral off guard early, once again, which I can't blame him for. I like the plan. I think it's one of the most solid plans probably against Serral, because the longer the game goes, the less likely it is you're going to get the better of him.
Yeah, but this is so close to that hatchery, though, that like even a queen from the high ground is probably going to see it. I feel like with this scenario, it would almost be better for Spatz if Serral did not take this base, because I can already see a doom scenario where one of Serral's Zerglings is going to find this potential proxy Stargate. That is indeed what it's going to be. When the Stargate is like 60-70% done, and then it's super awkward. So far, Serral hasn't seen it yet, even though he's awfully close. He has not seen it yet, but I'm worried. I mean, I don't hate it, right? Like, you gotta roll the dice. You're a massive underdog, like 99-1 underdog, so you may as well try to catch Serral off guard, napping, and get an Oracle into his main base very early on, but this is very risky, for sure.
Well, pylon block on the natural location. Hatchery will go down there as a first Adept shows up, and I'm just thinking about what you're saying. It's like, please, Adept, don't lead units to the right-hand side because they might just spot it. They will not just yet, though, so the Stargate is going to finish. It will get to produce its first Oracle, is the expectation here, naturally. And, well, we'll see if Serral can defend against it. It's going to be tough because of how quickly it arrives. It's going to be way sooner than your initial kind of usual timings when it comes to building spores and getting queens in position.
It seemed like these links. Oh, there we go. There goes Serral's mighty Zergling, and Serral's Zergling is going to see it. Now, probably not in time to unpower the Stargate before the first Oracle is out, but I do think that one Oracle is what it's at best going to be. Now, Spatz is even temporarily making a second pylon. I do think he's going to cancel this. You obviously don't want to lose 2 pylons if you only have to lose 1. So one Oracle is pretty much all we're going to get out first. No, he's actually going to try to get a second one as well, as the first Oracle does fly into the Queens. The Adept shade into kind of an awkward spot. The Lings are all over it. Oracle does show up one more time. A single drone, Waddy. That is what we got.
That really ain't it, man. That's really not enough, is it? As you see a couple Lings going over the right side. Oracle is there picking them off, and I mean that second pylon finished up, but yeah, I mean second Oracle pops. He just feels like the first one didn't do much. The second one probably doesn't have much hope in its spores already, and we try and get something done. We don't even find the damage we need, and this Oracle gets turned away as well.
Yep, a bit of almost feels like there are some nerves that come into play here for Spatz as well. Maybe it is intimidating, right? If you're into the lobby and you look on the other side and you're like, oh, Serral, it's that guy, it's the big name. This is obviously what a lot of nerds dream of when they're young and they're getting better. One day they will be battling it out with Serral. I think it's the first time ever that these two play against one another in a competitive environment. But even in the early game, like the Lynx tripped up the build order a little bit. I saw 4 probes on both gases, and now we saw the Oracle kind of shooting at 3 different drones, but not actually delivering any finishing blows. So yeah, it just it kind of sucks. We are now obviously heavily supply blocked after losing not 1 but 2 pylons. At least there is another pylon finishing up at 54 out of 54. 5 minutes into the game, it is not looking pretty for Spatsy.
It is not looking pretty for him at all. The things are going to go across the map, and well, as the Oracle's activating, so they will be able to chase a couple of those Lings away. Obviously, we just clear out the Stargate slowly. Spatz is going to try and go Link and +1, but Serral's obviously got freedom to do as he wishes. Drones for a while, he can get the Lair and the Evo Chamber out and just really get all of this up and running. So, able to kind of move in with all of this at the moment, get that underway, see how we go.
Yep. Let's see if Spatz can find Serral out of position. I did like how quickly Serral brought those queens over, by the way, from the main base while he was defending the third base mineral line, because those queens got a couple of extra shots off. And even though the Oracle did not fall, now obviously Spatz knows that he needs to be even more careful, and he really cannot take any risk. Does see a little opening here, goes for it, gets a couple of drones, will end up losing one of the Oracle, tries to turn around there to get a few more shots off, but that is not quite working out. Serral's starting to queue up a bunch of roaches. That seems to be just safety roaches for now, as we're going to follow those roaches up with more drones.
Yeah, just get a few more of those up, replace what we just lost out on, and obviously you do want to have a round of roaches ready for when these stalkers start pressuring. Blink and +1 on the way through. So get those stalkers out, and that's where Spatz will hopefully, will want to try and get something done. You generally want to take map control with that, but it's going to be rough when you've lost so much, and Serral is back into just more and more roaches, man. He is starting to just spam units and might just say, yeah, I've got enough to just come across the map and just kind of have my way with you.
Yep, I think Serral is going to attack that third base from Spatz, and it's going to be very difficult for our German Protoss to defend that. Did invest in the second Robo and the Robo Bay, and if that would already be up and running and be like, maybe a couple of disruptors and we are allowed to dream. But at this point, Serral's army supply is just exploding like no tomorrow. It's 86 against 22. Spatz has spent a lot of money on buildings, facilities, on units that are good for harassment, but none of it has really been spent on battle units. And Serral's just going to roll all over Spatz here, Wari. I don't even want to do the caster thing. If you want to do it, be my guest.
I don't, man. I'm good. You can tell me about how Serral's going to roll over him, because I'm absolutely on that train with you. It is not going to be close. These stalkers, well, there's not really anywhere for them to go to. This base is just being nuked on down. 18 probes, 20 probes already killed. The Oracle activating overhead, but I think this really is just going to be too much. Serral, we kind of know it. We can see that. And this is just going to be game in the next few moments whenever Spatz decides to give up the fight and let this one go away.
Serral even getting some style points there, killing the Oracle with Corrosive Ball. I'm sure that made him smile a little bit. We do have Disruptors out. The first one gets 2 Ravages. That is decent. The second one has to settle for a single Roach and a single Zergling. Spatz obviously knows that the writing is on the wall here. GG gets called. Serral is off to a good start.